Good morning, everybody. This is Nupur from New York, welcoming you into my kitchen. This is the Queen's Curry Kitchen because I live in Queens. So today I am making something that actually culminates the 8 nights of fasting for the Mother Goddess. And today is Ashtami, which is the 8th day. And on this day, we make a food offering, which consists of black chickpeas, fried flatbreads called puris, and also a sweet porridge, which is called halwa, which is made with semolina, water, sugar, and a little bit of cardamom powder, and ghee, of course. So I'm going to make this in 3 parts because each of the recipes are quite distinct and it would actually take up a lot of time to bunch them into one video. Even though when I actually make the stuff, I make them all together, but I will actually do 3 different FB lives for each of the items that are going to be going to the food offering that I will put at the altar. So let's start with the first item, which is actually the halwa. And for this we have, let me flip the camera. We have semolina, which is very easily found in Indian grocery stores. You'll also find them in some Middle Eastern stores. And this is made out of wheat. So it's kind of like cream of wheat, okay? We also have ghee, which is actually the purest form of food according to the Indian Hindu religion. And I'll tell you exact proportions in just a second. So if you're vegan, then you can also make this with any oil of your choice. And if you're making it for the prayer, ideally it should be done with ghee. Because ghee is supposed to be the golden elixir of longevity, and all the offerings to gods in the Hindu religion are supposed to be done with ghee. So there you go. This is ghee from cow's milk. If you are vegan, then go ahead and use oil. Okay, so the ghee is melting. The proportion of semolina to ghee to sugar and water is that the semolina, the ghee, and the sugar are actually in equal parts. So if it's 1 cup semolina, 1 cup sugar, and 1 cup of ghee. And then the water is about 4 times. So we have 4 cups of water. I'm doing it in a large quantity because I have to feed a lot of people and I have to also distribute these portions. So this halwa that I'm making is going to be in large quantities, but pretty much the proportion stays the same. Okay, now I'm going to fix the camera in here so you can have a good look at what is going on in this pan right here. Okay, so the ghee is hot. My semolina is here. It takes a while to actually roast this. So I'm going to put this right here. The flame is on high right now. Once it starts roasting, I will bring it down to medium. It's got a very granular texture, so. And you want to stir it slowly in one direction so that it doesn't burn. Usually when I make this for the offering at the altar, I will usually play like a prayer or a chanting or a mantra CD in the back or something. But because I need my phone to make the video, I'm not doing that today. So it's white at this point, the semolina, the color of the semolina. And we're basically going for a slightly brown, sort of caramel, kind of a roasted, toasted color. And how it'll happen is very gradually. You will keep on stirring it. That's the thing that takes the longest time, because after that everything goes really fast. Now, one quick note about sugar. This is about the same amount of quantity of sugar as I took the semolina, and to that I've added 4 times the quantity of water. So if you're doing 2 cups of semolina, 2 cups of ghee, then you will do 2 cups of sugar and about 8 cups of water. I'm making it in a large portion, so I've actually used a very big bowl, but the proportion remains the same. It's 2 cups, equal quantities of semolina, equal quantity of ghee, equal quantity of sugar, and the water that I use is about 4 times, only because once it cooks, it tends to set and settle. So you don't want it to dry up, which is why you put a little bit extra water so that it remains moist. Hi Misty, welcome to my kitchen. I'm making halwa, which is a porridge, kind of a sweet dessert that's offered to the gods and goddesses on this 8th day of our holy days for the mother goddess. But you can also make it as a regular dessert in your home. I have semolina, I have ghee in this pan, and I'm gradually roasting and toasting it. So this started out as a very creamy white color, and over time you will see as we continue to roast it, it will actually gather a caramel kind of a color. Okay, I think the flame is a little too high, and you don't want it to burn. So the flame, you have to literally control the flame between medium to high, and there might be times when you want to switch it up, turn it down. Just be careful that it browns evenly, so you have to constantly stir the mixture. Do not let it sit. Hi Shumonadi, welcome to my kitchen. We are making prasad for Navratri. Okay, so I'm gradually stirring it. The flame is between medium and high. At this point, if you like, you can add some cardamom powder. Hi Jarna, welcome to my kitchen. We are making some halwa for Navratri. This is cardamom powder, so this is actually pods that I had bought, and then I have a coffee grinder in which I actually grind these pods, and then I use this in my chai, I use it for my desserts, I use it in my biryanis, I use cardamom powder a lot. Okay, so this is, I'm just going to have to ask you to be patient so that you can hang in there with me and we can go through this whole thing together. This is the only time consuming part of making the halwa. And ideally what they say is that if you're actually praying over your food while you're making it, or you are actually putting all the intention of love and devotion in your food, whatever food that you offer at the altar actually has a very distinct taste, and that can never be replicated because it's the energy that you put into the food. So I always encourage everybody to cook for your families, cook with love, and put all your love in your food. And whoever you're making the food for, just make it as if you're making it for your kids or making it for your mom. And then just imagine how much love will pour into your food. Yeah, Misty, this is actually a warm dessert, and ideally it's served either piping hot or warm. But I've also seen that in the summer months, people actually put it in the fridge, and then when it sets like a fudge, they cut it into cubes and take it on picnics and whatnot. This stays really well at room temperature as well. Okay, so you can see the color is now gradually changing. Just I don't think in this yellow light it probably is not that visible, but you can tell from the aromas that are coming up that it's really beginning to come together. There is another thing that I have prepped which I would like you to see, and that's actually a garnish that's going to go on top of the halwa. These are almonds, just regular almonds that I actually blanched, and I forgot to soak them overnight actually. So what I did was I just put them in the microwave for 20 seconds. You can also soak them in hot water for about 15 minutes, and then the skin just comes right out. So if this is your almond, it's just really easy to peel it. So the skin comes right off, and then you can chop it or sliver it and then use it in your desserts. Okay, so I'm going to continue to keep peeling the almonds. And I'll keep an eye on my halwa because I have to do both. There you go. You have to constantly stir it so that it doesn't stick to the bottom or it doesn't burn. So what the old ladies in the temple, they say that if the food that you're making for prasad to feed the gods, if that burns, then just forget about it. It's not a good thing. So you cannot offer burnt food. And another thing that for food offerings that you make at the altar, you cannot taste anything. Yep. So you have to be very sure of your technique. You have to be very sure of the quantity of salt and sugar or whatever seasonings you're going to put in, because you cannot taste the food before the offering has been made at the altar to the gods. It's considered to be not clean if you taste it. So this recipe with these proportions is absolutely bang on. It never fails. Equal quantity of semolina, equal quantity of ghee or oil, and equal quantity of sugar, and then the water should be 4 times of that. So if you have 1 cup semolina, 1 cup ghee, and 1 cup of sugar, then 1 cup ghee and 1 cup semolina get roasted together, And I like to blend the sugar and the water together so that it just goes in instead of making a sticky mess. So basically it's just regular water, and I've taken all of the sugar and dissolved it in the water and kept it on the side. When this becomes that golden brown color, I'm going to put the water. Okay, I think I have to turn down the heat because it's really browning very fast. And the trick to this is the more you stir it and the more you chant your prayers over it, the more sincere is your offering to the gods. So you don't have to be Hindu, you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be spiritual. If you're here just to learn the technique and learn a new way to make this dessert, you're welcome. And if you share any thoughts that I share about religion and spirituality and why we need to do this, feel free to leave a comment below. Either way, you are welcome in my kitchen. If you could only smell how roasted and toasted. There is no water in this yet, Asha, but to make the semolina, you have to add water to make the halwa. Without that, it's not going to work. And I don't make the one with milk. I make it with water, and this is how we've made it for generations. Okay, so the color is now slightly changing. I don't know if you can tell. It's become almost like the color of honey. But I'm going to continue to roast it. So Asha says that according to her grandmother, they don't put any water in the halwa. They probably make it with milk because these semolina grains actually need to puff up. And how they will puff up is if some kind of moisture is added and steam is generated. So there's two ways to do it. A lot of people use milk instead of water. But in my family, we have always used water for generations, and that's what I follow. But if your family does milk in the halwa, please feel free to do it your way. That's totally fine. Yeah, exactly, Asha. You're right. A lot of families make it with milk. My sister-in-law, who is actually from Maharashtra, they actually make it with milk as well. And you're saying that Gujaratis also make it with milk. I know. That's really cool. So I'm from the north, and so in our family, we always make it with water. It's really quite brown, and oh my god, the aroma of the toasting of the semolina is really filling up the air right now. And a lot of times, even when you make it on a winter day and your family members smell the toasting of the semolina, they say, is it a special day today? Is there a puja today? Why are you making halwa? It just becomes synonymous in your family. That's why. That's what the toasting of the semolina with the ghee does. And the cardamom, of course, is really adding to the richness of it. You see how it's becoming a lot more brown than we first started? So I'm going to continue to keep stirring it. It's at a very critical point right now. You do not want to take your eyes off at this point. Okay, so if you have a heavy bottom pan, that's your best friend. If you have a deep vessel where if you put the water, it's not going to splash all up, that's going to be great too. Okay, and let me warn you, once I add the water, there's going to be a big splash that's going to be created and a lot of steam will get kicked up. So be very careful when you're doing this in your home. And once you add the water, oh boy, the process goes really, really fast after that. Some people like to add raisins or dry fruits at this stage of toasting. I don't like to do that. I only like to top it. Sometimes I'll use a little coconut, shredded coconut as well. Okay, so this is really quite golden at this point. It was creamy white, if you remember when we first started. I'm really going to turn the heat all the way down because I don't want it to be burnt or unevenly roasted. Yeah, it's really getting a lot of color, and you will know from the aroma of there's like a nutty aroma that fills the air. That's some nutty fragrance, and you'll know that it's well roasted at this point. Okay, so you see this is quite brown. And there's a lot of steam coming up. Okay, so now we're getting ready to add the water. Like I said, if you do it with milk, do it with milk. If you're vegan, do it with water. If you're vegan, do it with coconut milk. I don't know, try your options. Okay, when something is really hot and bubbling like this, please make sure that you do not turn it in one direction and then turn it in the other direction. No, because those splatters are really going to burn you. So when it's something hot you're stirring, keep your distance, have a spoon that's flexible, and only stir in one direction. Okay, now it's time to add the water. It's really a critical stage, and what you want to do is you don't want to add all the water in one shot, because what that will do is it'll really kick up a lot of steam, and that's potentially very dangerous. So this is water that's getting added to hot oil. Be very, very careful at this stage. Step away a little bit, add water. You see how it sizzles? Yeah. So you want to add a little bit, and then you want to step away. Yeah, there's a lot of smoke coming out of that thing right now. But this is the moisture that actually cooks the semolina. I'm going to turn on my exhaust fan just briefly, because otherwise you won't be able to see me. Okay, so that was the most fiery part. And once that happens, then I think the halwa becomes a little bit more forgiving. You see how it's still steaming up and bubbling? It's really, really hot. So please be careful. Don't have your babies or children around the stovetop at this time. So that was only 2 cups. This is the majority of the water with the sugar already in it. And I'm going to put all of this in here. Yeah, this is a lot of halwa. I'm hoping to feed about 15 to 20 portions with this. All right. So you can see the sugar. When you mix the sugar and water ahead of time, then basically it doesn't create a sticky mess in different pockets, because when you add sugar separately, then it can create that sticky mess and it's hard to control. This way, when you've pre-measured your water, pre-measured your sugar, it just becomes very easy to control. My kitchen is full of smoke right now, but it's smelling so darn good. And by the way, when you make these kind of offerings, you have to take a shower, you have to clean your kitchen like 100 times. You cannot taste anything, you cannot be chewing gum. So you have to follow all those rules when you make prasad in the Indian system. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the heat back up, because now it's just going to simmer and it's going to start coming together, and the moisture from the water is going to get soaked up by the semolina. It's very similar to how you make couscous, and it absorbs the moisture. It's pretty much very similar to that. I do have to water. Misty, I added water and sugar that I had dissolved. Remember, we have to do 4 parts of water to 1 part of semolina. So basically, I didn't have a big bowl, which is why I had it in 2 separate sections. And I'd actually pre-dissolved the sugar and the water together and kept it aside. Just regular water. You could use warm water if you want. And I added that. So that's what's going to add the moisture to our semolina to make it puff up. And I'll actually show you a close-up as soon as it starts to bubble up. Right now, I'm trying to preserve all the heat, so I quickly covered it. Now I'm working on the almonds. So just a quick update as to, just a cultural thing. Just trying to tell you what all it entails. So basically, this is an offering that involves the halwa, which is semolina, ghee, sugar, and water. The other part of this offering is also a flatbread that is fried, which is called a puri. I have done the roti making videos with you, but this one is actually deep fried, so I'll be doing that in another Facebook Live right after this one. And then the third item that goes into this offering is black chickpeas. So there's actually local chickpeas that are black, and they are native to India. And basically you make a dry version of those. The little bowl at the end was also water. No, that was actually the leftover ghee that I had in the bowl, which wasn't melting, and my hands were not free at that time. So I basically just finished off all the ghee that was left in the bowl, and I scraped it clean. That's what it was, Misty. Yeah. So that was the measuring bowl that I'd used for my ghee, and it was left over. So I figured, hey, you know what? Might as well scrape it clean. Why to waste anything? So if you follow this recipe, trust me, you wouldn't have to taste anything. The proportion of the sweet to the starch will be absolutely perfect. This is a foolproof recipe. Okay, let me show you. It's actually bubbling up right now. You can see. And I'm going to stir it really gently because it's kind of very, very fiery. You see how brown it is? Remember how white our semolina was before? See how brown and golden it is right now. Okay. Just give it a very gentle stir, but basically it's going to simmer down and it's going to cook in this syrupy moisture with ghee and the cardamom. Oh my God, yep. This is a food fit for the gods, absolutely. Of course, my kitchen always becomes a mess, but that's fine. Some of the small things that we can do. Okay, so the halwa is bubbling away. I am busy peeling the almonds to use as a garnish. You can do pistachios, you can do raisins, whatever rocks your boat, okay? So it's going really fast. If I had soaked the almonds the night before, I promise I would have done better, but knowing me, the only thing I remembered to soak was the black chickpeas. That's the only thing I soaked. Okay. So for 20 portions, I don't like to put too much dry fruit in the mix because then it gets boiled and simmered. I like the crunch of my dried fruit, my almonds. So I'm actually going to put them on the top. And I will also put some desiccated coconut on top as a garnish. Okay, I will be putting pictures of all the things that we are creating in this FB Live, so you'll get a point of reference as to what we just did. I was only able to do a handful of almonds so far, so I'm still working on some more. You can see that this is really fiercely bubbling away right now. I have to keep an eye on it. Only because I'm doing one item at a time today, I'm just able to sit here and talk to you guys about what's going on. In a real world situation, I would probably be frying the puris, the flatbreads. I would be frying that on the other side because I have a 4-burner stove, so I wouldn't be wasting any time. I'd actually be using the time to fry up the breads that actually go in the offering with this thing. Okay. All right, so let me just give you a quick glimpse of this. It's almost coming together, and when you feel like it's cooked enough, you can actually remove the cover. The way you'll know that it's cooked enough is that all the water will start to disappear, and what comes to the top will actually be ghee. So you'll be able to see that is it syrup or is it ghee, and you'll be able to tell that distinction. So give it a very gentle stir. Yes, this is how they make it in the temples. This is how they make it in your home. This is how your grandmother made it. So you see how this is all soft. It almost looks like grits, like cream of wheat. So if you've ever had grits or cream of wheat, this is what it looks like. And you can see that the grains are completely cooked. They are not raw in any way. And what has skimmed to the top is ghee. If I let it sit, it's going to still, the grains are going to soak up a little more moisture, and each and every bite of it will be full of flavor, bursting with sweetness and the flavor of ghee and cardamom. It's really quite a heavenly feel, and once it has been blessed at the altar, I'm telling you, the energy of the food completely changes. So this bubbles quite fiercely, so be very careful. You don't want to be too close to it, and you don't want to move your ladle right in between the bubbles because that can splatter and burn you. Just move it in one direction, scrape from the sides, and then bring it to the middle just to make sure that it's not burning at the bottom. Okay. So now you see all the liquid from the top is kind of sort of disappeared. The only thing remaining is ghee. All the syrup is gone. It's been soaked in. There you go. So at this point, I'm actually going to turn this off. This is ready. And I'm going to let it cook in the residual heat that is left. Along with this, I'm actually making the black garbanzo beans, which actually look like this. And I soaked them overnight. Let me show you what that looks like. So that's the next item that I'm going to be focusing on. This is what they look like after soaking them overnight. I think the light is not that great. So this is what they look like. They're not raw. You can see that they're kind of puffed up a little bit after soaking, but they're still raw. Now I have it in my Instant Pot, and I steamed it already. So I'll open it and show you what it looks like. I actually did a manual setting for 12 minutes. But if you have a pressure cooker, you can pressure cook them. You can set them on the stovetop to boil. I'm going to open this. And I actually boiled it. I didn't put it on a bean setting. Even though my machine has a bean setting, I just put like a 12 to 15 minute. There you go. So this is what it looks like when it's boiled for 12 minutes. Okay, And yeah, and now they're hot, but you see how they're soft? That's what you want. You don't want them to disintegrate, and yet you want them to hold their own. And I put very little water at the bottom. Okay, so in my next live video, which just follows shortly, I'll be making the tempering for these for the black chana, which is the chickpeas, and I will also be making the fried flatbreads, which are the puris. So if I can manage to do both in a short amount of time, I might make them side by side. If not, I'll just make the chana first and then I'll make the puri, so that you can actually get a hold of the technique once and for all. So this technique you can actually basically apply to any beans. For now, this is from the halwa that we are signing off. The stove is actually turned off. It's been sitting in its residual heat, and you can see it's still bubbling, but it's good to go. See how brown that is? Imagine it started out being all white. And so if you liked what you saw and you want to give it a shot, give it a try, do try it in your home. This is my altar in the back where all the offerings are going to be made. I do have a plate set up. This is a silver plate that is only used for prayers. So all the food is going to get served in this, and then once the offering is made, it will get mixed to the rest of the food, so that everything will be blessed. And then I will give it to my neighbors, and I will give it to my friends. Especially I will give it to people with little baby girls, because they are supposed to be the personification of the mother goddess. So that's kind of like the plan. I'm gonna sign off now, but I'm coming right back with the video for making the flatbreads, the fried flatbreads and the puris. And I will make the black chana, which is also a part of the offering that we're going to make for today. So like always, thank you for joining me. Happy Navratri to you. May the mother goddess always protect you and guide you to your higher good. I really appreciate your love and support. This is Nupur saying goodbye. I will see you very shortly in the next video that's coming up right after this. Thank you.